Now, I do want to go over a few things real quickly to let you know about our office hours. The first thing, hey, Erica, is that we can only answer specific questions that don't push us outside the realm of releasing information that will be released in the current RFA. So if there's a question you ask and we're like, oh, we're sorry, we're not able to answer that at this point in time, please be understanding with that. We do have recordings. Erica has placed them on our website relating to leading up to the RFA release, and a number of other informational recordings on there that will help you in preparing for the RFA. Once we release the RFA, we will have a training related to EGAP and answering questions that go specifically with the RFA at that point in time. We anticipate the release will be late May, 1st June. We're not sure of that, but we just go with the flow once it's submitted and wait and see, but we know it will be soon. If you have a partner, if you have someone already out there working on your behalf, excellent. If not, please get busy with that if you plan to write. It is very important that everyone understands the 21st Century Grant is related about community and partnerships with the LEAs, your nonprofits, your faith-based, and other organizations. So those are a few things I want to talk to you about right now. And then I want to let our staff introduce themselves. We'll start with Alicia.
Good morning, everyone. I am Alicia Alvis. I work with one of our grants on the federal, from the State Department of Education, federal programs, and that's 21st Century Grant. I do have a little bit of affiliation with it, being that I've held it in my building when I was a building principal, and I'm able to assist as much as I can. So if you have any questions, please let us know. We'll be happy to assist, and we're happy to know that you all are interested in applying, and we want as many grantees to apply as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. And Erica, who runs our TPI, is our great resource, and we have a contract with them at Auburn University. Erica?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Erica Rucker, Truman Pierce Institute, 21st Century Program Coordinator. So I'm like the middle person between the grantees and the State Department. So I like to say I'm the connector, so I can point you in the direction of the person that you need if it's not me, but I probably can figure it out for you. So just here to help.
Thank you, Erica, and we appreciate all that y'all do, you and your entire staff and Dr. Bryant. I see that Ellen's on. Ellen, are you in a place where you have the opportunity to speak for just a minute? She's one of our technical assistants out in the field.
I am. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and looking forward to learning a little more about the upcoming RFA and how we can assist you guys in making this happen. So good to be here.
Excellent. And we have Rebecca Pines, who currently is working on something, but she will jump on in a few minutes. That's with our office. We have a number of other TAs that are out there in the field, probably visiting sites and doing things right now related to 21st Century. So at this time, we're going to open it up. If anybody has any questions, we're here to answer those. And then if not, we will just go into just some current things that we feel like you should be doing or thinking about doing if you're considering applying. Does anybody have any questions at this time?
Hi, I've got a question for you. So I am a faculty member in the College of Nursing, but I work with our local Hispanic population. And so we have a couple of different collaborators and kind of across Auburn University and in the community. And one thing that we've noticed in one of our local schools that has a high rate of poverty and also serves a good bit of the Hispanic population in the area, that there's not a lot of participation of the Hispanic community, of Hispanic children in the after school program. And so my question is, can you target this grant to just one population, or does it have to be broad to anyone who meets a certain criteria, like, you know, I guess using the poverty guidelines?
So first and foremost, the grant is open to everybody. So you cannot have a bias or not let people in. Now you do have enrollment requirements and things like that will meet your space and your insurance. But as far as just saying, we're only going to offer it to students who are X, you're not able to do that. The grant is around Title I and poverty and has certain percentages that will roll out in the RFA, probably at Auburn. And in that space, your best resource would be Erica. She's actually on the Auburn campus and can help a great deal. There are things though with Erica, because she is a consultant, contracted with us, that she will not be able to answer until the RFA is released, but she can answer specifically about how to get those students engaged and meet the basic requirements of the past RFAs and grants. So Erica, are you good with that?
Okay. Thank you. I know it's hard because this population is not able to pay for after school care or, programs. And so this would be a great way to reach the population to help them. And so that was a question that we had. So great. Erica, I may reach out to ask you some more questions.
And also, Sarah, in saying that, one of the requirements from the USDOE and the state of Alabama is that no funds can be collected like participation. So it is a great grant for the students and the families out there that don't already belong to, somewhere they're paying to go. It's a great grant for everybody, but it definitely is open and more feasible for those people who understand there are no payments or participation fees.
Okay, thank you.
I see we have Lisa and Kim and Donna Duranda that are all very experienced with the grant and other grants. Is there anything you guys would like to ask or chime in on your experience, because you have vast experience and offer a really good program?
Annette, this is Dorinda. About what will the time frame look like from the time the RFA is released until it's due?
That's a great question. It's about 3 weeks, but that also depends on when we release it. If we release it around the time that those 3 weeks would fall, the 4th of July, as far as the ending date, then we would extend that. Hopefully everybody right now is doing their needs assessment, excuse me, already getting everything typed up in Word, ready to dump it into eGap. So hopefully it shouldn't take 3 weeks if everybody's doing the work they need to do now, and have reviewed past RFAs to kind of know, okay, what should I be prepared for, and looking at Y for Y and the USDOE site for 21st century, just to get an idea of what's going on out there. But usually about 3 weeks. But again, that will depend on the release date, so that we don't get into family vacations and July 4th and things like that would actually cut some people out of having 3 full weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Lisa. Do you have any questions?
I was just gonna say, do I have my camera on? I do. Now, I was going to say, this is a horrible grant. Don't apply for it. You don't need it. You got other things out there. No, I'm joking. None of that's true. I'm saying that so to make sure we get the grant. No, the grant is wonderful. We have so many children that it helps. There are a lot of stipulations to a lot of things you have to do, but that's just because we have to prove our money. That's nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that you can't do. It is time consuming, but it's well worth it. I don't know what our children would do without the 21st century grants. Now this year, we did not get 2 of our grants. We only got 1 of them, but we had the ESSER money. Next year, I've called in some community leaders. I've called in some of our partners. We've done that. We've used those in the past. We don't know how many favors we can call in, but that's where we turn to. And so the 21st century grant is well worth it. It's a wonderful wonderful program. And you've got a great staff. I'm not saying that because they're on here. We've had a lot of changeover since I took over in 2020, but the state people we have now, they're wonderful to work with, and you will do great. The TPI people are wonderful to work with. I emailed them yesterday, and it was just a few minutes before I got my answer back from TPI, working on some summer stuff. And so I encourage you to apply. I really don't want you to, but I encourage you for your children to apply because your children deserve it as well as mine do.
Thank you, Lisa, and we appreciate you. I will say, if people are on top of what's going on strategically within their school districts and their community, they will see that the ESSER funds are going to run out during the time that cohort 17 would be funded. So if people are paying attention, we anticipate we will have a lot of applications. If people aren't paying attention, then we'll probably have a lot of people calling going, when's the next RFA going to be out? When's cohort 18? So they may miss an opportunity because of the ESSER funds out there right now. Of course, we have our state requirements for our math and literacy, but those actually go together with the 21st century, and meaning they can be in that camp for 2 weeks and then come into your summer 21st century, or you can figure out a way to work together with your funding and share those students. So there are lots of opportunities out there. She did hit on a really good point. It takes a lot of our organization, Kim. Everybody on here knows that. As far as what you have to do, those aren't state requirements, they're federal requirements. But anytime we're using federal funds, we want to make sure they're going to the right place, taking care of the right things. So that's just part of our job here at the state, is to stay on top of those things and help you through it. We try to provide as many resources as possible, monthly trainings and on our website, so that you're prepared to do the compliance monitoring that comes with it. Alicia, would you like to add anything in that area?
Yes, I was just going to say, I put in the chat the link to the current cohort, which is cohort 16's application. For those of you who are not familiar with applying or what those expectations are, those different components, how to write, what the expectations are, you can preview that information to kind of give you an idea of what cohort 17, which is the next application that is about to be released. And so that way you can begin thinking. I also want to encourage you to go ahead on and think about who will be your partners. And those of you we call community-based organizations, which we often refer to that acronym as CBO, or if you're a faith-based organization, we refer to you as an FBO, then you would need to make sure that you reach out to the local educational agency, the school system in which those students are currently enrolled and going to school that you want to serve, because the grant requires a partnership, a good working partnership where you will have to collaborate on a lot of information to complete the application process. It requires signatures from them and an agreement that you all will work together. So those are just some things to begin thinking about, to make sure that you have those things in place, because you can do all of the work ahead of time. And if you don't have the agreement with the local educational agency, that they would be willing to allow you to service the students in that area, then that it'll cause a huge problem. You will not be able to apply. So I always tell interested candidates or grantees, if they're interested in this particular grant, to really reach out and tell them your vision. I heard, I think Sarah was mentioning how she really wants to see how this grant could be used to provide after-school care and summer school programs for the population that are EL students. That would be an awesome way to approach, give them some ideas of how you want to service them, to see if that would work in alignment with their vision, their school vision, their school system's vision. So that type of thing, just kind of start getting your creative juices flowing, so that when the application does come out, you'll be ready to go ahead and work. And like Annette said, you could be working on some of those parts of the application and just in your Word documents. All you have to do is just copy and paste when that information becomes available.
Thank you. It won't be exactly like 16, but typically if you look through the years and look through the USDOE, there are definitely consistent components in every one. One of those being a partnership like Elisa is speaking to, but I just want you to know that there will be just a few changes as always, but for the most part, you can get busy now, your needs assessment, your surveys, your meetings. There's so much you can be doing right now, getting those partnership agreements together that you know it will be in the RFA no matter what, because that's a requirement by the USDOE. Erica, do you have any advice for the people on today?
Just ditto and what everybody else has said. Specifically, this is the time to make a really good connection with the school administrators. You go into the meeting with your vision, but also be willing to listen to things that they have realized that they need, and figure out how y'all can meet that in between and put that in the grant. Go ahead and be putting it in a Word document. Do not try to write this grant in EGAP. Write it in Word, because EGAP is not going to catch all of your spelling and all of that. Make sure that you have a second person to read over what you've written, because when I'm writing, I hear my voice, but yet everybody, I might skip a word when I'm writing and reading my own voice. So just simple things like that. Those are pretty much my tips. I've tried to stay along with whatever the school wanted and the vision that I had, and figure out, how we can intertwine those things to make it work. Answer the questions.
Yes, be sure to answer the questions all the way through. Another thing that you could be thinking about right now is, what do you want to do? How do you want to collaborate, not only in your community and your LEAs, but basically engage the parents and the families, extend that past the students, and what can you do, and thoughts and activities that'll go along with your needs assessment and your surveys. So start thinking in those areas. One thing Erica mentioned was EGAP, and if you're not familiar with EGAP, don't fear. Once the RFA is released, we will have a training, because that's actually where we don't accept any kind of fax, mail-ins, emails, anything like that. Everything is put into the EGAP 2.0 system. Currently on our website, we do have a training. So if you want to get ahead of the curve per se, and you're not familiar with EGAP, you can go ahead and go to our website. Alicia put it in the chat, and find that training about EGAP and start learning how to operate it. It's very simple. But it can have some little glitches here and there when you copy and paste, your spacing may get off or something like that. But I encourage you to go ahead and get out there and start learning and training. And so when we do release it, you're ready to go. Do we have any other questions?
I do have something to say about EGAP, if you don't mind. If you're not familiar with EGAP, when you go to load your documents in there, there is a time limit. And if you exceed that time limit, put it in, you will lose it. So, set your phone to have an alarm to go off about every 45 minutes. So you will not lose your stuff, because that's happened to a lot of folks before. So just a tip of the trade there.
I have a question. So if you are applying for one school system, can you serve multiple schools with one grant? So like if you were applying, okay. Yes. And then I know, I'm sorry, because I logged on late. I know Sarah Watts asked us about the English language learning population. Like, can you target after school, this grant for a population? And in our case, we'd be looking at English language learners.
So we answered that just a little bit earlier. Basically,
I know, I'm sorry.
You can say, I'm going to take the word target. You can put that in your vision. But as far as telling students, hey, you can't come because you're not an English language learner, that's not acceptable with the grant. And
Okay.
another thing, while serving multiple students or multiple schools, you have to have the assurances from the principal and from all the stakeholders that align with that. You can't just pick from different schools without letting them know that, you know, we're going to work together with your kids, because the grant itself is to take the school day and what they're doing in the school day and bring it to life in the after school. It's not study hall. It's not sitting around on computers. It is engaged, project-based learning, activities, you know, just bringing that school day to life. If they're learning multiples of two, you know, I'm a sports person, so then we're going to play basketball or kickball and we're going to score in multiple twos, or we're going to do, you know, 2 + 2 = what, and your number is, whose turn is it to kick? We're going to engage that into our learning, what they're learning into the school day. So just be aware of those components, that it's, you know, it's not just rolling out the ball or sitting them down and doing study hall or tutoring. It has a whole component of engagement and bringing that life to the after
Can I
school.
say something there?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. This is about the same lady who just asked that question. Correct me if I'm wrong, but someone was nice enough to share this with me, and I want to share. I know Annette acts like I know a whole lot about this, but I still learn so much every month. But anyway, and especially when you have a daytime job. But what I was going to tell you is I was blessed to go visit a school around the Arab area. I can't remember right now, but just about a month ago, I went in April. And they had written their grant. Oh my goodness, it was a dynamic program. They had written their grant because they were 78% maybe Hispanic. They had written their grant to make sure that their Hispanics could come just as well as their poverty kids could come. And when I say that, they had provided buses, because the Hispanic kids can't come without buses. Some of them don't have but one car, and daddy's going to work in the car. Some of them have to catch rides. So there's nobody that can come and pick them up at 6 o'clock. And so when they did their planning for their grant, which is something I'm working on, they fixed it so it was feasible for their Hispanic students. So the parents didn't just, when they first saw it and saw, oh, I got to pick them up at 6 o'clock, that's out. They had it where, hey, we're going to bring your children home. So when you're doing your planning, think about that broad goal that, hey, if I make it away, it's free. Food is free. I can even provide supper through somebody. I can provide a snack through my CMP or through some of these other people. And it's possible. It's feasible. Now, you can't only take, but you also want your poverty, your tier 2 because of the literacy law, your tier 1. You want to get your goals together to think that. And I didn't understand that before, and I don't know exactly how to make that happen, but it is, because I saw it. I saw it in action. So that's what you have to think of. How can I use my money to make this where they can attend?
Those are excellent points,
Yeah.
Lisa. Go ahead, Ann.
I was just saying, thank you.
Yeah, very good points. The transportation piece is huge. And then the opportunity to think about that they will be in a safe environment, and they also, you know, provided you can't provide food through the 21st century, but CNP and there are other resources out there for that. I think a lot of times when we think about 21st century, we instantly go to after school, right after school. But you also can think outside the box and look at, what about before school? What about evening, you know, late evening? Maybe they're going to a different type of camp, and then you start your 21st century even later for those second shift parents. We also should think about maybe weekends or even holidays when school's out. I don't know. I know working here, when school's out, we're still working. So parents are still working, you know, during the Christmas break and during the holiday breaks for the most part. So think about those opportunities to serve in different ways if you're considering applying.
And I bet I also missed this. So I'm sorry to make you repeat yourself, but when is the RFA coming out?
So we anticipate late May, early June. I will tell you where we are, we don't get to decide that. Like we work on it and we submit it, but as far as the actual release date, we don't get to decide that. But as soon as it's released, then typically it's out for about 3 weeks. And then once it closes, we look at our peer reviewers. Erica works with them and I work with them, and they are anonymously out to the peer reviewers. They grade them, we get them back. That's usually another 2 weeks before we have the scores back. Then we release those to our supervisors for approval. It usually takes, depending on what time of year, we were talking about July 4th, how many people are off, that could take, anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks to get those back usually. And then we actually have the release that comes through Erica's website. It also is an blast email is sent out to everybody that applied, and then we post it. Just to give you a timeline, the programs are scheduled to start and the funding starts in October. So it is a reimbursable grant, meaning you will operate and then ask for your funds, and your funds have to align with what you put in your RFA, which is what we spend an enormous amount of time checking on. Typically with RFAs, if you've not had a program, then there's a way to request funds, on the front end for a period of time. But if you've had a program, then you just keep your program going, adding the new components of it. Anyone have any questions about that? I go back to, we have some really, really great programs out there. I know Lisa referred to those earlier: Gulf Shores, Gaston, SAFE, the Care Center. Lisa's your mentors and people out there that you can reach out to and ask a lot of questions that we can't specifically answer from our seat right now. Erica, there's just so many people out there to ask questions to and be a mentor. If you are interested in connecting with someone, just get in touch with us and we'll hook you up with someone that can answer some questions for you. I see Dr. Pines is on. Dr. Pines, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Dr. Pines. No, how are you all? I am working with the 21st Century Grant. So if you have any questions, I'm sure Annette and Alicia and Erica has covered quite a bit of information with you today. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Pines. So if you don't have any questions, we will log off, and then we will put our phone number and our email in the chat. So if you think, oh, I wish I'd have asked this, you can get in touch with us, but always you can go to our 21st Century Alabama website. You can reach out to Erica and her staff. Some other resources you may be interested in: Why for Why, great resource. Everything you need to know there: webinars, surveys. It's a free, meaning you can download it and put your logo on it, change the document up some. They actually contract with USDOE. You also have the After School Network and the USDOE 21st Century website, so you can understand a little bit more of the compliance and the things we are so fortunate to be able to do, and paperwork and things like that come along with the grant, because it is a heavy lift. But again, if we're going to service children with federal money, we've got to make sure that's what we're doing with the money and it stays in line with how people are awarded. One last round for any questions. Okay, so we have our recording from last week on the website. Isn't that correct, Erica? If they want to listen to it and see what questions were asked during then. We will also post this on the website. And then we have a couple more calls coming up. And then hopefully we'll be rolling the RFA out. All right. Well, it's good to speak with you all today. Again, Alicia, you want to put in the chat our email, our 21st Century email in there real quick, and our phone number. And then we will log off and get busy with our needs assessment and our survey, and on this end, the compliance and getting the RFA where it needs to be. Thank you all for joining us today.